Bijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Statashatashi Shrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astota Shatashi Shrimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Shri Rupa Shri Sanatana Bhatta Ragana Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Ragana Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Prem Sago Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Gangamaya Jamunamai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Tosmarani Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Brihat Mridanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai ISKCON Vartmana Guru Vrinda Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo All gloriously assembled devotees All gloriously assembled devotees All glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to Lotus Feet of Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. What's the meter here? 4:31:21. Is it Nabhajati Kumanishan Saijam?
Nabhajati.
Okay. Would you be willing to chant it for me? Might be difficult for me.
Okay, we'll do it in our usual way. Na. Bhajati. Turn it down, someone. Kumanishinam. Saijam. Na bhajati kumanishinam saijam.
It worked for Brahma Samhita.
No, it doesn't.
Well,
Go ahead, chant it. Harir Adanatma Dana Priyo Rasagyaha Hadad Adanatma Dana Priyo Rasagya.
you said a little slower.
Hadad Adanatma Dana Priyo Rasagya. We have a missing syllable there. It's irregular. Shuta, Dana, Kula, Karmanam, Madarye, Shuta Dana Kula Karmanam Madarye, Vidadati, Papam, Akinchaneshu, Satsu, Vidadati Papam Akinchaneshu Satsu, Nabhajati Kumanishinam Saijyam, Hadadanatmadana Priyo Rasagyaha, Shutadana Kula Karmanam Madarye, Vidadati Papam Akinchaneshu Satsu, Nabhajati Kumanishinam Saijyam, Hadadanatmadana Priyo Rasagyaha, Shutadana Kula Karmanam Madarye, Vidadati Papam Akinchaneshu Satsu.
Anybody else? Okay. Na, never. Bhajati accepts Kumanishanam of persons with a dirty heart. Saha, he. Ijam, offering. Harihi, the Supreme Lord. Adana, to those who have no material possessions. Atmadana, simply dependent on the Lord. Priya, who is dear. Rasagya, who accepts the essence of life. Shruta, education. Dana, wealth. Kula, aristocracy. Karmanam, and of fruitive activities. Madhai, by pride. Ye, all those who. Vedadati, perform. Papam, disgrace. Akinchaneshu, without material possessions. Satsu unto the devotees. Okay, translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes very dear to those devotees who have no material possessions but are fully happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. Indeed, the Lord relishes the devotional activities of such devotees. Those who are puffed up with material education, wealth, aristocracy, and fruitive activity are very proud of possessing material things, and they often deride the devotees. Even if such people offer the Lord worship, the Lord never accepts them. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is dependent on his pure devotees. He does not even accept the offerings of those who are not devotees. A pure devotee is one who feels he does not possess anything material. A devotee is always happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. Devotees may sometimes appear materially poor, but because they are spiritually advanced and enriched, they are most dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such devotees are free from attachment to family, society, friendship, children, and so on. They abandon affection for all these material possessions and are always happy in possessing the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead understands the position of his devotee. If a person derides a pure devotee, he is never recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, the Supreme Lord never excuses one who offends a pure devotee. There are many examples of this in history. A great mystic yogi, Durvasa Muni, offended the great devotee Ambarish Maharaj. The great sage Durvasa was to be chastised by the Sudarshan Chakra of the Lord. Even though the great mystic directly approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was never excused. Those on the path of liberation should be very careful not to offend a pure devotee. Om Gyanatimmandasya Gyananjana Shalakoya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakapatirubhishcha Kripa Sindhibhi Evacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I heard a class one time by Jayadvaita Swami. No, it actually wasn't. He was the audience of the class. Someone was speaking, and before the class, they were saying like, oh, I'm so unqualified, and like all how devotees are all humbled. I'm so unqualified. I shouldn't be up here. And Jayadvaita Swami kind of cut him off. He said, "The class isn't about you. Why are you talking about yourself?" So the class is meant to glorify Krishna. But I'm very appreciative to be up here and trying to attempt to glorify the Bhagavatam, and I'm happy to be here in San Diego and ISKCON Temple. So thank you for allowing us to come. Hare Krishna. So I'll attempt to speak. Does anybody know who's speaking this verse here? I believe it's actually Lord Brahma. Narada Muni instructs the Prachetas, but isn't it Lord Brahma speaking to Narada Muni also? It's a conversation within a conversation about a conversation. Because Shukadeva Goswami is speaking to Maharaj Parikshit about a conversation where Maitreya Rishi is speaking to Vidura about what Narada or Lord Brahma is speaking. So it's a conversation by the third power. So that's what's going on in this verse, text 21. There's a nice analogy of three people. They're putting bricks on top of each other, and they're cementing them together. And one person is curious why these three people are putting bricks together. So he goes up to the first worker, the first construction worker. Why are you putting bricks on top of other bricks and cementing them together? And he had this whole plan in his head. I'm building a really nice wall, and it's going to be, so many feet wide and so many feet high. Okay? So he goes to the second worker. He says, so why are you putting bricks together? Oh yeah, we're making a wall, and then we're going to make 3 other walls, and they're going to combine and make like a square. So that's like what I'm doing. And so he goes to the third worker, and he asks them, why are you putting bricks together? He says, well, I'm building a temple. We're making 4 walls. We're making a nice foundation. There's going to be a roof and everything like that. We're building a temple. So the third worker actually had the full perspective of the project. He knew from the beginning to the middle to the end of what to do, what steps to take to actually build the whole temple. So in the same way, the Bhagavat Purana, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra is giving us everything. Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Sambandha is the philosophy, a basic philosophy, information that we're not this body, we're a soul, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Abhideya is the process of how to actually realize the philosophy. And the Prayojana is the goal of the philosophy, which is to become an eternal lover of God, which is our constitutional position. So we should be like the third builder who understands the process. So as we read the Bhagavat Purana, it's simultaneously giving us what we should be aware of in terms of the pitfalls we should avoid. So many times in the Srimad Bhagavatam, a lot of it is how people have messed up on the path of devotion or the path of yoga, how they became distracted. So that's actually meant to help us learn. There's different types of intelligence. First class intelligence is you learn by hearing. So we can learn from the Bhagavatam how to avoid fall downs in devotional service. And this verse here, the purport, Srila Prabhupada's explaining about Durvasa Muni, how he offended Ambarish Maharaj. And Durvasa Muni, although he was a powerful yogi, he had to actually beg forgiveness for his Vaishnava aparad. And like I said, there's so many examples of this in the Bhagavatam. So this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, becomes very dear to those devotees who have no material possessions. We should understand what no material possessions means. It doesn't mean just not having like physical objects. Like oftentimes when we meet people on the street, they're like into some pseudo kind of like meditation or yoga, and they're trying to become like minimalist. They're even kind of like, yeah, I got rid of all my clothes, I gave away all like my instruments and stuff like that. So this is good. I mean, it's like a beginning. They have a good sentiment, a good intention, but that's not necessarily what it means to be free from material possessions. There was a famous picture in like a magazine of some yogi who there was like a pile of cash right by him. It was Ramakrishna. Okay, the Mayavadi. And it was a picture of him sitting next to this pile of cash, and he had like this disgusted look on his face, like, I don't want the money. And Srila Prabhupada saw that picture, and he said, if it was me, I'd be embracing the money, because he knew that, actually money belongs to Krishna. He can use it in devotional service. So there's also a very nice example. If you find a wallet on the street, like you saw somebody, they're walking by and their wallet falls out of their pocket, there's a few things you could do. You can just like neglect it and just kind of walk away. You could pick it up, put it in your pocket, or you can pick it up and like return it to the person it belongs to. So those who like keep it for themselves, those are compared to the karmis, the materialists. They're taking Krishna's energy and they're trying to enjoy it for themselves. Those who just neglect it are compared to like impersonalists. They don't do anything. They're detached from the situation. But the personalist, the devotee, will actually take that energy and they'll give it to who it actually belongs to, who it came from. And many nice examples of this, even in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. Pundarik Vidyanidhi was, materially speaking, he had a lot of opulences. He was a rich person, but he was a pure devotee. He was a great saint. And Gadadhar Pandit, who is is non-different from Srimati Radharani. When she comes in Gaura Leela, she in one of the forms she comes as Gadadhar Pandit, and I think it was Mukunda who brought Gadadhar Pandit to see. He said, "Would you like to come see a pure Vaishnava?" And Gadadhar was like excited, like, "Yes, of course." And then he comes and he sees this person like laying in this very nice palace on this very nice couch, and he's kind of he's looking at himself in the mirror also, and he's just kind of like leaning back and relaxing and eating grapes. And Gadadhar Pandit at first had external vision. He was thinking, who is this person? How is he a pure Vaishnava? So he was judging based on the externals. But then Mukunda said some verse from the Bhagavatam or something like that, and then Pundarik Vidyanidhi, out of great ecstasy, just like went wild and like had all these ecstatic symptoms. And Gadadhar Pandit realized that he actually made an offense, and the way he can rectify for that offense is to become Vidyanidhi's disciple. So he took shelter of him. So in this sense, we should not judge people. We should not judge devotees based on their externals and according to their varna or their ashram, because we may actually be committing an offense to think that somebody's materialistically inclined just because they may have more material opulence. I know many devotees who are far more realized and advanced than I am, that have a lot of money and cars and houses and things like that. So we shouldn't judge devotees based on the externals, and not only with material possessions, but maybe like their situations, circumstances that they're going through in life. I remember my spiritual master was giving a class, and he was speaking about this subject, that even some devotees may apparently have obstacles on the path. They may even temporarily fall down from devotional service, and they may go out back into the material world. And it may seem to us like, wow, this person is like really fallen. And yeah, they're in a fallen position, but we don't actually know what that person's going through and how Krishna is directing them in their life. They may have to experience that temporarily to bring them to the point of full surrender. And we don't really understand where people are on their progress of spiritual advancement. This is a multi-life program. It's not that you just see a new person that has been here for 2 weeks and you think, oh, he's been practicing devotional service for 2 weeks. He's actually, possibly he's been practicing for many, many lifetimes. And we're the ones that are just, we started in this life. So we don't really know where devotees are in their progress of spiritual realization. And we don't know how Krishna is directing that person to help that devotee go through whatever he needs to go through to bring him to the point of pure devotional service. Once someone begins to surrender to Krishna, Krishna directly has a hand in that person's life. He's directing them and to the fine detail. And so in this sense, we shouldn't base our vision on the externals. Lord Chaitanya actually is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in case you didn't know that. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was a Mayavadi before he met Lord Chaitanya. And what was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's cousin's name? Was that Gopinathacharya? Gopinathacharya was a pure devotee, and he was trying to explain to, I think, cousin or brother-in-law Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, that actually Lord Chaitanya is non-different from Krishna. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was actually very learned in the Vedas. Actually, at that time in Navadvip, he was like one of the primary teachers of like Mayavad philosophy. Everyone like looked up to him. He was like the Mayavad guru, like the Mayavad Acharya at that time. So he was very learned, obviously, and he gave many arguments. According to Shastra, he was quoting the Vedas that no, there's no incarnation in the Kali Yuga. This can't be true. Lord Chaitanya is not God. He's just like, he's a sentimentalist, but obviously he might be very advanced spiritually, but he's not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gopinathacharya called Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya Bahir Mukha, an externally motivated person. He was judging based on the externals. And we see in this verse, in the word for word, Rasa Gya, who accepts the essence of life. So this is a very nice word, a rasigya, something that we can strive to be, an essence seeker, not an externally motivated devotee, but an essence seeking devotee, not basing our see, devotional service is not just like external labor. Oftentimes when I was kind of like new to devotional service in this lifetime, I couldn't understand the concept that, you know, we're begging for devotional service. The reason why we're doing devotional service is so Krishna can give us more devotional service, because devotional service to me was like washing the pots and like sweeping and everything like that. So I'm like, why am I washing the pots so I can wash more pots? That doesn't make sense to me. But actually devotional service is an internal it's an internal affair. It's an internal growth, internal maturity. Internally, we're developing our relationship with the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. Yeah, fully possessing devotional service is part of this verse. So the devotee, the Supreme Personality Godhead becomes very dear to those devotees who have no material possessions, but are fully happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. So I think it was Rupa Goswami, it might have been Sanatana Goswami, where a person goes up to him and he begs for the greatest treasure. Is that Sanatana Goswami? So I forget the details of the story, but this man was searching for, you know, riches, and another man directed him to go to this sadhu. It was Lord Shiva? Directed him to go to Sanatana Goswami, because he said that this man has the greatest treasure, and he might even give it to you. So this man goes to Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami, for those who don't know, is one of the 6 Goswamis. So the 6 Goswamis are some of the primary devotees of Lord Chaitanya. For many years they lived in Vrindavan, which is where Krishna used to live 5,000 years ago on this planet Earth. So the 6 Goswamis were directed to go to Vrindavan, and they excavated Lord Krishna's pastime places like Radhakund, and they opened up different temples, and they wrote many books. And a lot of most of the commentaries that you'll read from Srila Prabhupada are from the 6 Goswamis or other acharyas like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So Sanatana Goswami was considered like the eldest of the Goswamis. Rupa and Sanatan and Raghunath Das Goswami were considered like the primary Goswamis of those 6. So Sanatana Goswami, this man goes to Sanatana Goswami and he's like chanting in his bhajan kutir, and he asked, I heard you have great treasure. I was wondering if you can share some with me. And Sanatana Goswami points to a pile of garbage, and he says, yeah, there's a Chintamani stone right there. A Chintamani stone is apparently like a stone that if it touches any other stone, that other stone it touches turns to gold. So you can have like unlimited gold if you have like this one Chintamani stone. So Sanatana Goswami pointed to this pile of trash, and he said, yeah, this Chintamani stone, you can just have it, just keep it. And this guy was like excited that he has this stone, he can get unlimited gold. So he walks away, but then he starts to like reconsider, wait, why did this person have this valuable stone just sitting in the garbage, and he was like neglecting it? He must have something greater. So he goes back to Sanatana Goswami, and he tells him his realization. And then Sanatana Goswami says, yeah, I actually do have something greater, but I don't know if you're willing to accept it. And the man begged for it. So what he gave him was the holy names of Krishna. Just like I was saying how devotional service is a cultivation of the heart. It's not just an external affair. The same thing with the holy name. I had the same thing with the holy name when I was new. It's like, this is supposed to be the Yuga Dharma of this age, just like chanting these syllables. Sometimes like I'm just like forcing my mouth to open and like get these syllables out, and sometimes it's a struggle. But the more you go on, and the more you persevere, and you have a humble service attitude, then the holy names actually start to reveal themselves to us, and they blossom in our heart, and we get a taste more and more as we go on. Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually said that every day a devotee should feel his love of Krishna grow. Day by day, every day you should feel your love of Krishna grow. If you do not feel this love of Krishna grow, it's either because of offenses or because of neglect, neglecting one part of your bhajan or your sadhana. And one should become introspective and think within himself, what have I done wrong? What am I neglecting? What offenses am I committing? And then rectify that negligence or that offense. My spiritual master says that if we're eager for Krishna, Krishna becomes eager for us. But if we're bored with Krishna, Krishna becomes bored with us also. Krishna basically just reciprocates what we are offering to him within our mind and our heart. So moving on to this, to finish this verse. Indeed, the Lord relishes the devotional activities of such devotees. So the Lord actually relishes the activities of his pure devotee. That's actually that's the essence of our philosophy. Is everything exists to bring Krishna pleasure. The only reason why the jiva exists, the soul exists, because is in the spiritual world, Radha and Krishna are having their eternal pastimes. And Radha and Krishna, they expand themselves into different potencies. And some of those potencies are jivas, they're souls. And it's all meant, it's like an orchestra, like the whole orchestra, the whole band is playing their own instrument to create this like amazing symphony. So in the spiritual world, all the jivas, all the souls are performing different activities, different services, all to create this like amazing symphony to bring Radha and Krishna together to enjoy pastime. So that's the reason why we even exist in the first place. And Krishna actually relishes the activities and the service of his pure devotees. So we should remember this. Even within this material world, we have this philosophy. We should understand that there's nothing, actually, only Krishna and his energies. We're part and parcels of Krishna, meant to offer Krishna's energy back to Krishna to please Krishna. So everything is ultimately Krishna. But in this material world, we have a perverted reflection. Everything's coming from me. Basically, it's a part and parcel of me and my perception. And I'm supposed to offer my energy back to me to please myself, either to please me or there's selfishness and there's external selfishness. Either me or I, or my family, my body, my car, my job. But it's all based on myself. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto, Lord Kapila explains in the 20th chapter how Lord Brahma, the first ingredient that's created by Lord Brahma in this universe is actually tamagun, is ignorance. And he categorizes it into 5. So these are the 5 categories of tamagun that were the first ingredient of the material universe. So the first category of tamagun is envy or anger. Envy of Krishna. Anger that we're not Krishna. Anger that we're not God. The second one is that we think that death finishes everything. So that's one of the second category of tamagun. The third category is that there's no conception of the soul in this material world. The fourth category of tamagun is that we think we are the material body and the material mind. And the fifth one is that the soul becomes mad after material happiness. We're just chasing material happiness, chasing this false dream. And you can call it the I am God project. This is a project of the material world. We think we're trying to be God. And actually, it's quite interesting that some philosophers have actually called this generation the me generation, because I heard this by Hridayananda Goswami, that they based on history, they see how in this generation there's like an inflation of this false sense of false prestige This is like exaggeration of false prestige and false ego. They call it the me generation. And the word prestige, I actually looked it up in the dictionary a while ago, and it literally it means like a widespread respect or adoration for oneself, wanting other people to think highly of you. But it actually comes from Latin, and from Latin it literally translates into illusion. This is really interesting, huh? Prestige literally means illusion from the original translation. But same thing in the third canto, Kapila Dev teaches how to get free from this tamagun. And he explains how devotional service, it literally dissolves like your false ego. It dissolves it until it basically your material mind, your material intelligence, and your material false ego, they just basically vanish as Bhakti yoga progresses. Your false prestige and false sense of identity also dissolves. So we can see how this Krishna consciousness movement, this process of sadhana bhakti, it's actually a rehabilitation for the soul, that we're training ourselves to come to our original state of consciousness, our original state of being part of that symphony, of wanting to give pleasure to Krishna, and rehabilitating us from the state of forgetfulness of our true reality to actually entering into our eternal reality, Krishna's eternal reality. There's a medical condition, it's a mental medical condition called dementia. Actually, I know one devotee, that's how he actually joined the movement, was he was riding his bike one day, and he woke up on the sidewalk. He fell or something and hit his head. He doesn't remember what happened. When he woke up, he forgot everything. Remember Omkar Prabhu? Yeah, that's what happened to him. He forgot everything. He forgot his name, his family. He didn't know where he was. He forgot the things. What? Okay, yeah. So he took a picture of himself, and he started putting papers up saying, "If you know who I am, please call this number." Or I don't know how he had a number. I forgot the details, but somehow he had a contact information. If you know who I am, please contact me. So long story short, in the course of this, he somehow met devotees. He got Prabhupada's books. He read them. He eventually became a devotee. And then as he was learning who he used to be, he realized he was actually a hardcore atheist before he had dementia. Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is this dementia, you forget who you are. You forget everything about yourself. So when we come to this material world, it's like we smack our head and we just forget everything. We forget who Krishna is, who we are. There's another medical condition called multiple personality disorder, where people, it's kind of like schizophrenia. You have different personalities. You think you're 2 or 3 people, and you act in different ways. It's pretty hardcore. So in one sense, we have both. We have dementia, and we have a personality disorder. So many lifetimes, If right now, okay, I'm in a male body. I'm 28 years old. I'm I'm trying to be a brahmachari. But if I were to start acting like a little 10-year-old Japanese girl, you guys would think I'm completely nuts. But actually, that's what the soul is doing. One lifetime we're a Japanese girl. Next lifetime we're an alligator or an elephant. Next lifetime we're an American. So this Krishna consciousness movement, the sadhana bhakti, is reverse osmosis. If you have dirty water, water is pure originally. If it comes in contact with dirt or mud or whatever, it becomes contaminated. But there's the process of reverse osmosis to bring the water back to its original pure state, to the state where you can actually drink it. So the reverse osmosis of sadhana bhakti is filtering our consciousness of contamination to bring us back to our original state, so Krishna can drink our love, I guess, drink our heart and our purity. Rupa Goswami describes how to succeed in the sadhana bhakti. He says, Utsaha nishtaya dhiryat tat-kat karma pravartanat. What's the last? Vritti, and then last? Yeah, okay. So enthusiasm, we should have enthusiasm. We should also have patience. This is like a key element and something that I have to work on is this patience. Like I want things to move faster, but I have to have patience. And there's a nice quote where Srila Prabhupada's describing walnuts and cashews. And he says that these nuts are very nutritious. They're very good for health. Nuts, cashews, and almonds. But they take a very long time to actually ripen and fructify. So he said, so it's not a problem to let a good thing take a long time to fructify, because at the end then you have like something very nutritious. So just to continue, no matter what happens in our devotional service, Amala Bhakta Swami has said a very profound thing to me that I share with others and has helped me out so much in my devotional life. He explained that no matter what you go through, ups or downs, whatever, never, when you're going through a down time in your devotional service and you're having you're having a tough time, he says during those times never make a major decision in your life, because those major decisions he has seen from experience that those can actually ruin your life or create big obstacles in your life. You see, many people are in prison right now for just acting out of emotion, acting out of anger in a particular circumstance, that if they just tolerated their anger or tolerated their emotions until they passed by, they would come back to their natural state of consciousness and may not do something like that. People murder someone out of anger or something. So same thing with devotional service. The senses may be pulling us in a certain direction. The mind may be giving us many doubts or many obstacles, but just tolerate that time. Go through the motions of devotional service. Just attend the morning program, chant your rounds. If you need to, stay, be quiet you don't have to talk to anybody, just like chill out for a little bit. Let the wave kind of like go by, and then you'll be back to your normal state of mind. And I've had personal experience of this. If I just tolerate that, those obstacles, then I come back to my original state of mind, and I am so glad that I didn't do something stupid. And simultaneously, Krishna seems pleased that I'm tolerating and I'm passing tests and I'm trying to show my sincerity. So right around the corner of every obstacle is like a deep realization and a deep epiphany. And one obstacle that most devotees continue to have is in their chanting, in their japa. This nam aparad is it's very crucial to try to avoid and try to chant nicely. Aparad means offenses, so offenses to the holy names. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a dream one time of Haridas Thakur speaking. And when he woke up from the dream, he actually wrote a book about the dream. And that book's called Harinam Chintamani. And that book is very powerful. I recommend everybody to read it if you want to improve your chanting. And Haridas Thakur explains that there's different nam aparads. One of the most, the nam aparad that's committed the most for most people is this inattentive chanting. And he describes that this is actually the mother of all offenses. From the inattentive chanting is kind of like the root of all the other nam aparads. And he gives 3 basic categories of this inattentive chanting. There's laziness, where you don't want to chant, or you neglect the chanting. There's apathy, where you don't have, there's no taste, you're just like not into it. You just do it like mechanically. You don't even have a desire to improve. You're just trying to get it done. And then the third one is sleeping. Some devotees, they fall asleep when they chant. So those are the 3 basic categories of inattentive chanting. One of the main reasons why it's very important to at least try to work on this is that I heard this in a seminar by Radhe Shyam Prabhu, who's a very amazing devotee from Pune in India. disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami. He's explaining that if one performs Namaparad, instead of watering the Bhakti Lata Bij, the Bhakti Lata Bij means seed, so the Bhakti Lata Bij is the seed of devotional service. By hearing and chanting, engaging in devotional service, that creeper grows more and more. Srila Prabhupada explains this, and so does Lord Chaitanya, explains this to Sanatana Goswami and Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the seed grows more and more, turns into a creeper, turns into a strong plant until it penetrates Goloka Vrindavan and takes shelter of the feet of Radha and Krishna. But if you're performing Namaparad, instead of watering the creeper purely, you're actually watering the weeds of devotional service along with the creeper. And those weeds manifest in many different ways. Desire for material enjoyment, sex desire, desire for name, fame, adoration, distinction. And Radheshyam Prabhu was explaining in the seminar that that's one of the reasons why you see some devotees at first they take up devotional service very enthusiastically, but after the course of time, maybe 5 or 10 years, they slow down and they go out into the material world a little bit. They still hang on to their devotional service, but their fire of enthusiasm dwindled dramatically, and they may even new material desires may pop up, because the seeds of material desires are within our heart, or within our subconsciousness. So if we're watering the weed, those seeds actually fructify in due course of time. But if we're watering the Bhakti Lata Bij, then those material desire seeds eventually become vanquished also. Rupa Goswami explains this in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Aparabda palam papam kutam bijam palomukam Kramanaiva Paliyatam Vishnu Bhakti Ratapmanam. That when one engages in the devotional service of Vishnu, sinful desire itself, the reactions of sinful activity, and the sinful disposition is actually eradicated within the heart as one serves Krishna. So proper chanting, like I said, Kapila Dev, I quoted Kapila Dev, it diminishes your false ego, your false sense of identifying with the material world vanishes, and gradually the spiritual world becomes more and more of a reality. And in the beginning stages in devotional service, sometimes it's an uphill battle. You just have to kind of force yourself to go through the mechanics. But after a while, after sufficient purification of the heart, then the attraction to the spiritual world, attraction to hear Krishna's pastimes, attraction of the philosophy, it becomes more relevant in your life. Time? Okay. And it's not... Okay. What time am I supposed to stop? Right now? Can I say 2 more minutes of what I have to say? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to explain that it's not a forced affair, attraction to the spiritual world, attraction to Krishna. You can't force yourself there. You actually have to be invited to the spiritual world by the residents of the spiritual world, and Krishna ultimately. So to become invited to have these deep realizations, to be invited to have taste for Krishna's holy name, is based on our humble service attitude and our sincerity. Once Krishna sees that we're actually sincere, that we're trying to serve with humility, then Krishna invites us to have a taste for his pastimes. You can't just sit down and force yourself to have a taste for Krishna book. It's something that Krishna gives you as a gift. And it's very confidential. These pastimes are confidential. Knowledge of Radha and Krishna are the most confidential. But simultaneously, Lord Chaitanya makes it open. It's an open secret. It's secret in the sense, like I said, you can't force yourself there. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna confidential knowledge. What to speak of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya is teaching the most confidential knowledge. You can't force yourself there, but at the same time, it's open to everybody. We're distributing books by the thousands. We have temples to teach people. We have the deities to show people. But you can't understand it without Krishna's mercy. Just like yesterday, we were at Walmart, and I met some lady. She was cool, but she was like a Christian, but she was like a nice Christian. So she grabbed the Bhagavad Gita, and then she decided she didn't want it, and she pointed at the cover, and she asked me, "Who's this?" You know, it's like a typical thing that Christians do. And then I wasn't really trying to get into the conversation, but she said, "Do you think that's God?" And I said, "Yeah, that's what God looks like." She said, "Nobody knows what God looks like." I just walked away. I said, "Okay." Yeah, I actually said that. I told her that. I said, "You don't know, but I know," and all my friends know also. I told her that, and yeah. Anyways, no, that didn't happen. So one thing I like to say, okay, and then I'll wrap it up. Lord Brahma, even Lord Brahma, became bewildered. He saw a little Krishna, little boy. You know, this is supposed to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he played a trick on him, stole his cowherd boys, stole his calves, see what would happen. And then when Krishna revealed himself, that he manifested as all the calves and the cowherd boys, Lord Brahma was like bewildered. He was astonished. How can the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's the source of the material cosmos, who's the source of the spiritual world, be simultaneously inside of his own creation, acting like a normal person? So in the purport, as it explains that if you can imagine going inside a house and there's a pot, like a cooking pot, that you see, and inside that cooking pot is the very house that you're inside of. It's like, whoa, this is bewildering. So that's like simultaneously, it's like Krishna is in this world, but he's the source of this world. For two facilities or two purposes. Primary purpose is to have exchanges, loving exchanges with his eternal devotees in Vrindavan and in Dwarka and Mathura. But the secondary reason is to give the sadhakas, to teach the sadhakas, those who are performing sadhana, a lesson to learn, and to also inspire us that that's where we want to go. That's the reason why we're performing devotional service, is to understand these pastimes and actually be a part of these pastimes. When we leave this material body, that's where we want to go. So that's all I have to say right now. Stay busy in devotional service. The mind is the devil's workshop. I have experience of this. If you're not always busy in devotional service, the mind plays tricks on you. So it's good to be in English, there's a proverb, to be a jack of all trades. You could be a das of all trades. Learn everything. Learn how to cook. Learn how to worship the deities. Learn instruments. Learn how to distribute books. Okay, anything? Hare Krishna.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Prabhupada said one should know something, a little about everything, and everything about one thing. This thing is so loud. So,
Yeah.
not just we skim, we know some things. Anyway, that's it. But are we ready? Are we questions? Are we wrapping up? What do we do, Bala?
Yeah.
I have a question.
No. This guy can come later. This guy will go on forever. Let's see if anybody in the room here has a question. I have a question, but what's our time frame, Bala?
A few more minutes.
Okay. What's with this? You know, are we trying to reach Mars? You know, you said, and we don't judge. We always feel low in the straw and street and all that. But you said, you know, maybe I'm on the multi-life program, and I'll pick it up. You know, so I'll pick it up in my next life, or I'll pick it up later on. You don't know where I'm going to go, so I'm fine. Hey, you know, I was nicely engaged in the temple. Now I'm, you know, going to the disco, or, you know, whatever's happening, the rave or whatever, and it's okay. I'm just working it out. I'm working out. I've got all these desires in my heart. Some of them have fructified. I'm working them out. You know, when Krishna wants, I'll surrender. When I'm ready, I'll be back. Hey, I'll be back, you know, tan, rested, and ready, and more advanced than you. So just, you know, it's all cool.
Is that a question? Or how to do
I'm
it?
asking how, because you're going to hear that. Based on, one could misunderstand what you said and come to that conclusion that I'm on the multi-life program. I'm, you know, now I've been hit by some, you know, but don't worry. I'm just going to work my way through it. and it's all going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, okay, a couple things. Well, first of all, Lord Chaitanya is here, and he's given us a golden opportunity. You can actually finish up in this one lifetime, so might as well take advantage of that. If you're suffering from a major disease, you know, if you just get like an injection or something and you can become healed like instantaneously, something like that. Or you just kind of like let the disease gradually fade out in due course of time. It might take many years. Like any intelligent person would obviously like want to take the medicine to stop suffering. But if you want to just keep suffering in this material world, I mean, like, what can I do? I mean, that's up to you. But I've also heard a senior devotee, forgot who said this, but it made sense to me, that, you know, Krishna explains to Arjuna, when Arjuna asks in the Bhagavad Gita what happens to the unsuccessful yogi, and Krishna says that the unsuccessful yogi, he attains the heavenly planets, or if he's unsuccessful after many years of yoga, he takes birth in an aristocratic family or like a devotional or a brahmana family. So if you're in the
yoga brishta, that's the verse that he's spontaneously attracted. The attraction, devotional service comes again.
Yeah. We're not really too sure where we will be in our next life. If we're like gambling like that, it's like a form of gambling. Because if you do take birth in the if you happen to take birth in the heavenly planets, you're going to live there for potentially tens and thousands of years, maybe 100,000 years, maybe so long that Lord Chaitanya's golden age has ended. You know, Kali Yuga. Yeah, you missed the boat, and then you have to take birth either in the end of Kali Yuga, where it's like completely crazy, or you have to take birth in Satya Yuga, where you have to perform like devotional austerity, everything like that for thousands of years. And even then, even if you have to perform devotional austerity and meditation in Satya Yuga, I mean, that doesn't sound so bad. It sounds kind of cool, like being in the Himalayas, meditating like a yogi. But you don't attain the same destination as those who get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. It's not all one. There's different categories of the spiritual world. You go to Vaikuntha, you go to Goloka Vrindavan, there's different categories of Goloka Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya is offering us, for a very small price, the supreme eternal realm where Radha and Krishna have their eternal pastimes, for a very small price of just dedicating this one life to the Harinam Sankirtan mission. So if you don't want to take advantage of that, I feel very bad for you, and I wish you well, and I'm very happy that at least you're on the gradual path, but this is what we have to offer, and so you could take it or leave it. That's how I would answer it. Something like that. Okay. Anybody else?
My question,
No.
please.
It's time. It's time. It really is.
Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
You can ask later on. We'll be here
Tomorrow, it'll be
noon.